Hi everyone. How is everything going? So ooh, let's get the coffee going. I have not checked emails today. I have been it's a late start. I have things to do. I know my emails are important, but still. Um, Gotta be careful. This little, and I just said that, and I spilled. Gotta be careful with this little powerful thing. Uh, so powerful. Well, I really don't need that note anyway. So I wanted to talk about a few things, and first, I'm actually wearing a full face of makeup. It may not look like it, and part of it is because I did go out and buy the Bobbi Brown foundation, and my color is honey, just straight honey, and it blended so well. Like, I mean, wow. Can you even tell? Perfect, right? And then I didn't use all of them. I only used two, but it comes as a whole set of four of eyeshadow. And then I used three different eyeshadows, but I used two of these at the bottom. And these are called Long Wear Cream Shadow Sticks. I'm gonna tell you though, when I put it on, I used the beauty sponge, the blending sponge. Love it. And I have some eyeshadow, and it seems like my whole face is Bobbi Brown today. My lipstick is Plum Beauty. But I did use some Lancome. Lancome gave me some few things to try. And for oil for my skin, it is Advanced. I think it's like Youth Activating Concentrate as the oil that I put on. And then for my eye cream, it's the Lift Multi-Action Eye. I actually still like the Avon one better. So I won't be buying the Lancome one. I mean, it's okay, but I still prefer the other one. So I prefer Avon's. It's a lot better. Um, so that's that. Let's pour my coffee. Forgot all about that. Can't forget the coffee. Oh, I'm gonna need another wifey. Okay, so I watched Love Country last night, and that was a bit of a buzz talk. And one of the things that, first off, Love Country is a lot going on. Love, um, Lovecraft Country, right? I mean, it's a lot going on. And the thing that okay, so I realize that this is definitely going to probably turn some heterosexual who are not interested in seeing the complications of sexuality off. And to be frank, I'm at the point where I don't care. I mean, I'm tired of having to explain sexuality to people who are just not open-minded, who are not open-minded, who are incapable of understanding that sexuality is fluid and sexuality is a choice, that It is a decision. I wouldn't, no, I'm not even going to say that. It is, the decision is what you plan on doing, but you can't choose who you're attracted to. Scientists have spent a ton of many years explaining how we are attracted to people. And many of that is biological and has nothing to do with just people. Has nothing to do with, oh, does he treat me nice, or oh, does she treat me nice. That is like the icing on top. It has to do with compatibility, biological compatibility. So if that's the case, even amongst heterosexual couples, if that's the case, don't you think that that's the same thing for people who are not heterosexual? And it's just a little frustrating. So I really don't have time to deal with people who do not understand that sexuality is more complicated than just uh, 1 + 1 = 2. It is fluid. It is things that people were born with their notion of wants and needs, and they knew their attractions before they knew what attraction meant. I'm not going down this rabbit hole. So therefore, I'm going to focus on this. Lovecraft Country is doing a lot, and a lot of it, I think this episode, out of many of the other episodes, left people uncomfortable. And there are some scenes that I was like, I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not ready. Are you ready? I'm not ready. And honestly, but I did like the fact that there's a conversation that's being had about sexuality with there is a conversation that's being had about who are we as people, and I enjoy that to the most. So you have this woman who wakes up as a white woman, and and the thing is we're all striving to be different in status, right? So we know that white men have the greatest level of privilege, and so if you are a white woman, you strive to have the same type of status that white men have. And then if you are a Black person, then you're striving to have the same status as a white person. And so I think it's just really fascinating that they did this whole show where it's like, even though you're striving for different statuses, you still want to be you, right? And it's because you're tied to your own personal experience. So really the question is like, even though I'm given this opportunity to be something else, it unnerves me that while I'm this something else, I realize that what I thought was true, that I wasn't being treated equally and fairly because of my race, is actually very true. And thus, I'm really, really troubled because I want equal status to be me. So how much can I study? How much can I stomach being denying myself equity and denying who I am? And that's what, this show is really, really kind of tipping on. And this episode, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was getting straight to what we need. Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I realize that, like, and people don't want to, when people talk about James Baldwin, people talk about Kunti Cullen, and this is really kind of cool because I think that we're really beginning to enter into the phase where more and more people are understanding that blacks, um, there were gay black men and women throughout time, so it's kind of one of the, even during the Harlem Renaissance, etc. And so even though that was openly kind of talked about, but people just kind of straight ignored it. And I'm not sure how you can. And, well, because it doesn't fit into their narrative. And so this show is really trying to explain that blacks have been dealing with their sexuality in silence, and I think that was a very poignant point that this episode brought up. I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to talk about for this show, for this episode. I don't think so. I mean, those are the things that stand out to me. The rest of them are other things that I don't really want to. Those are the major takeaways that I thought. The last thing I want to talk about, and I am going to read. I've read Bob Woodward's book, Fear. And even though that caught a great deal of attention, I don't think that it triggered the level of alarm that this book, Rage, is capturing. And I am going to read Rage. But a question keeps coming up, and it kind of bothers me because it is an ethics question. The conversation about Bob Woodward being, why, as a journalist, did he tape these conversations with Donald Trump? Now look. He has tapes from the first book, Fear. And the notion that Donald Trump would sit down with him again to do a second book makes no sense. Because you saw how the first book turned out. The first book did not turn out well. Did not turn out well for Donald Trump. It was heavily critical of Donald Trump. But you do another taping, sit down interview with Bob Woodward. Makes no sense to me. But we're going to push that thought to the side to get back to my original problem. So, Bob Woodward's tapes reveal that Donald Trump not only knew about, coronavirus, which we already knew, but that he was also involved in it, right? Involved in keeping it under wraps, and he didn't want to cause, harm. He didn't want to cause panic, etc. Okay. So then now there's this new conversation about, partly because Donald Trump said if he thought it was such a big deal, then he should have just went ahead and released the tapes and told the public, and didn't he have a duty? Okay. So more and more people are actually on both sides of the aisle kind of saying the same thing. So we're just going to move blame from the president to a reporter. Okay. One of the problems I have with this is when you study journalism class 101, first class you take in journalism class is that your job as a journalist is to be an observer, is to ask questions, and to report. Right? So people are criticizing, like, he saved these tapes because of his book. He fulfilled his job. To be perfectly honest, his job as a reporter was report, observer, ask questions, and report. The problem I have with Bob Woodward, and I don't have a problem with that so I'm gonna put it out there. I don't have a problem that he didn't talk about it sooner. I no, I don't. Um, I have a problem that people are placing blame on him when the president's job is to protect the American people, protect and serve. That's the job. That's 101 in his cabinet. But his cabinet is to serve the president, which they all are supposed to be serving the American people. Job 101, right? So I'm confused. Why are we upset with Bob Woodward? And people are saying, so now what people are asking for him, why didn't he tell people before? Okay. Now we're getting to journalism class 301, where we deal with ethics. Ethics, and this is a debate that has been going on in journalism for many, many years, because there's a question of, if you see somebody being killed, should you call 911 as a journalist? Or when you're at war and you know that you may have food or water in your bag and you see someone starving, should you give that to them? So all of these things are well, if you were not a journalist, instantly you're supposed to be of course you should. But because you're a journalist, when you are doing war reporting, should you, if they ask you for help, somebody asks you for help, should you absolutely help them? And this has come up for journalists over the years, because people have had these same conversations that journalists should participate. But then on the other hand, people are saying, wait a second, if you participate, now you're becoming part of the story. And the goal is to not be part of the story, to cover the story. So I don't question Bob Woodward's decision. And the reason why is because this is what you are taught as a journalist. You may not like the teaching of it, but on the other hand, you're taught to do exactly what he was doing. And his job is not supposed to warn the American people. His job is to report. His job is to observe, ask questions, and report. That's it. But, if we want to get into the ethics and saying what, some of these reporters should do more than that and all sort of stuff, it's not an unfair argument. It's just that it is not what journalists are trained to do. They're not supposed to be pushing for laws, because then now we're getting to bias, right? Now we're dealing with journalistic bias, which people are saying, no, we don't want journalists to be so biased and all of those stuff. You can't have it both ways. You can't have journalists doing something that is to be an objective advisor and observer, but then you're going to turn around and have them want to be part of this story. You can't do both. You can only do one or the other. Okay. Anywho, on that note, I know there's a lot of talk about Cuties on Netflix, and I am going to watch it and I'm going to review it, because I think that there is a misconception of it. And more people are pushing on the other hand, saying the people, I know this for sure, the people who are protesting against it have not watched it. They're going based off of what they think it is. And so I'm not going to be one of those people. I am going to be one of those people who investigates and understand what it is before I speak and say I have a problem with it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do in the midst of all the other stuff that I have not done yet. So have a great afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow.